Hello, and welcome to Fold3 by Ancestry, presented by the White Oak Library District. What is Fold3? Fold3 is a subsidiary of Ancestry.com and is a subscription database that provides access to military records that can be used for genealogical and historical research. The name chosen for this database, Fold3, serves to honor our military veterans. In a traditional flag folding ceremony, the third fold is made in honor and remembrance of veterans who served in defense of their country and to maintain peace throughout the world. The Fold3 database contains millions of records from world-class archives, many of which are exclusively available on Fold3. On Fold3, you will find not only military records, but also stories, photos, and personal documents. Getting started with Fold3. The first thing that any researcher will want to do before accessing Fold3 or any other research database is to gather their information. You're going to want to gather as much information as you can find on your military ancestors, but at the very least, you should aim for their full name and birth date. If you are unsure if your ancestor served during one of the major conflicts in which the United States was involved, here is a handy chart that shows you the potential birth years of veterans of those wars. For example, if your military ancestor was born between 1726 and 1767, then there was a good chance that they fought during the Revolutionary War. Some questions to help you get started searching for your military ancestors include, what branch of the service did they serve in? Did they fight in a specific conflict? Where were they living at the time of enlistment? Did they serve as an officer? Do you know the military unit this person served with? Once you have gathered all of the information that you can find on your ancestors, you will need to get logged into the Fold3 database. Whichever option you choose, your next step will be to click on the link that says e-resources alphabetically. You will then see an alphabetical list of all the e-resources that your library subscribes to. Scroll down the list until you see Fold3 Library Edition, and click on the bold text to be taken to the Fold3 database. When logging onto the database from home, you will be prompted to enter your library card number for access. Library patrons may choose to create a free personal account by providing their email address and choosing a private password. This personal account would also work with the consumer version as well if you ever opted to get your own subscription. Once you have accessed Fold3 through the library website, you will be taken to the Fold3 landing page. This page can be used to conduct a keyword search of all records. You may also use this page to access memorials, help, the training center, or choose to browse collections as well. We are going to conduct a search today for Ulysses S. Grant, 18th President of the United States and Commanding General of the Union Army during the Civil War, as I know I will find plenty of information on him. But the fun in Fold3 is that we can use it to find military information on our own ancestors. Here we can see the list of results that came up when we typed in Ulysses S. Grant in the search box at the top of the page. At the top of the list, we see that we are viewing results 1 through 20 of over 9,000 results. So next, we should discuss how to filter these results to a much more manageable number, and also to make sure that we are only looking at results that pertain to the individual whom we are searching for. So we have two options for filtering these results. We can use the navigation pane on the left-hand side of the screen, which we see over here, or we can use the drop-down menu right here that is next to the search box. We can filter the results by conflict, place, branch of the military, publication name, publication type, content provider, which is where the original record is housed, record type, military entity, rank, rank at discharge, and more. Filtering through the drop-down menu versus the navigation pane allows for all of these same filtering options, but they are just split into categories: date, place, military, and other, rather than being presented in list form. So you can also sort your results by relevance, date, or alphabetically if you go into the upper right-hand corner of your screen. You can see right here, you can sort your results as well. You can also browse the content in Fold3 by category or conflict. Here, I decided that I wanted to browse the Civil War records, and then I selected Civil War service records as a publication type. I was then prompted to choose another category, so I selected Union records and selected Illinois index cards as a publication type. Once I was in the Illinois index cards collection, I was then prompted to select a letter for a surname. thus telling me that I would need to be looking for a specific individual from this point forward. I selected G from the surname list and then was asked to get more specific with the surname, so I selected GR from the next list of options. Finally, I was given a list of soldier names and selected the soldier I was looking for, in this case, Grant, Ulysses S., Colonel. Once I click on the name Grant, Ulysses S., Colonel from the list of soldiers, I am shown a thumbnail view of the records in this collection. In this case, we see that there's only one record in this collection. I can go ahead and click on the thumbnail image in order to see a larger view of that image in the record viewer. So now here we have the record viewer where we can get a closer look at any record we select in Fold3. At the top of the page, we see the image of the record itself, and the bottom half of the page is the information pane, which shows image information, including a transcription of the information in the original document and source information, which tells us where the original record is housed. The record viewer also has buttons to allow us to bookmark or annotate and comment on a particular record, view tools to print, download, or share a record, and change the view of the record by zooming in and out, fitting the image to the page, and rotating the image. This is just another look at that record viewer with the information pane on the left-hand side of the screen now, rather than down at the bottom, and we're viewing a film strip down at the bottom instead. This film strip shows us all of the other records in the collection we're viewing in the order in which they are stored, in this case, alphabetical. So we see to the left last names that would come before Ulysses Grant alphabetically, and to the right names that would come after Ulysses Grant alphabetically. At the top of the screen when we are viewing a record, we will see a little bar with a drop-down arrow that when clicked will actually show us the breadcrumbs of our search. These breadcrumbs are essentially the steps that we took to get to the record we're currently viewing. This is helpful if you want to go back and browse the same collection for another individual without having to start over. Now we are going to discuss 4 of the most useful record types that you will encounter while using Fold3 for military research. The first of these is service records, which are administrative records that are created by the government and the military. These records are separated by branch and time period. Military service records are either stored at the National Archives in Washington, D.C., or the National Personnel Record Center in St. Louis, Missouri. Many of the service records through the Civil War are available on Fold3 and Ancestry. Enlistment records are those that, as the name suggests, are created at the time of enlistment. All information on enlistment records is about the veteran at that particular point in time. Enlistment records usually include enlistment date, expected length of service, age at enlistment, date of birth, birthplace, branch of service, occupation, and a physical description. The next type of record are pension files. The U.S. government began granting pensions in 1792 to veterans of the Revolutionary War. These first pensions were available to the veterans only, but later legislation would allow widows to collect these pensions as well. Not everyone applied for a pension, even if they were eligible, and not all pension applications were granted. Proof of service was to be provided in order to apply for a pension, so if there is a pension application on file for your ancestor, they did serve in the military. Not all pension files have been digitized, so if you do not find a pension file, that does not mean it doesn't exist. It just could be that it hasn't been digitized yet. Now we're going to move on to draft cards. Before 1862, combat duty was voluntary, but the first Conscription Act was passed in March 1863 for the Civil War. The draft was put into use again during World War I when 24 million men aged 18 to 45 registered, and of those, almost 3 million were inducted into service. During World War II, 50 million men aged 18 to 65 registered for the draft, and of those, 10 million were inducted. You may be able to find a draft card for your ancestor for both World War I and World War II, as World War II also had what was called the Old Man's Draft, where men over the age of 45 were drafted for help on the home front rather than for battle. During the Korean War, 1.5 million men were inducted into service, and 2 million during the Vietnam War. These were all wartime drafts, but the draft has been used during peacetime as well. In 1940, the first peacetime draft was held in the event the U.S. would have to enter World War II, which of course we did at the end of 1941. The draft has not been used since 1973. Not all draft records have been digitized, so if you do not find one for your ancestor, that doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. But these draft cards contain a wealth of information. They will contain the registrant's name, date of birth, birthplace, residence, occupation, employer, citizenship, marital status, physical description, and for the World War II draft, they actually included the name of a family member or friend who will always know that person's address. Fold3 also includes a section containing memorials for living and deceased soldiers and military events. When you click on the memorials section at the top of the page, you will be taken to the U.S. Honor Wall, where you will see an image carousel from which you can select an image to explore that soldier's memorial page. Or you can conduct a search to find a memorial for a specific person. You can also choose from one of 10 different conflicts to explore memorials for enlisted soldiers. Fold3 was designed to allow people to interact with what they find and add their own information and insights. Here is one of the pages for Ulysses S. Grant. To add something to Fold3, you'll need to create a free member account so other visitors can see a record of where the information posted came from, and so that you can update, remove, or manage the things that you've added. With a free member account, you can also build a memorial page on Fold3 if there is not already one for your ancestor. On this memorial page, you can add photos, biographies, stories, and original documents. Of course, the main focus of Fold3 is the military content, but there is also non-military content available in the database. Some of this non-military content includes the American Milestone Documents Collection, census records, city directories, newspapers, the Social Security Death Index, the African American Collection, the Native American Collection, and so much more. The records in Fold3 aren't all just from the United States either. Some of the international content includes Australia, World War I and World War II service records, British Army World War I pension and service records, and World War I Canadian soldier records, just to name a few. Because Fold3 is a subsidiary of Ancestry, any records that you find in Fold3 that pertain to your ancestors can be attached to a tree in Ancestry as long as you have an Ancestry account. If you do not have an account or a tree on Ancestry, you can create a free account with them that will allow you to create a tree, but which does not give you access to their database of records. You will have to create this account through Ancestry.com directly, and not through the version of Ancestry provided by the library district. You do not need a Fold3 account, however, to save records to a tree in Ancestry. In order to save a Fold3 record to your Ancestry tree, you would just click on the green button that appears on the record that says Save to Ancestry. You may still have many questions on how to use this database, so please contact us if we can help in any way. Fold3 also has a great help feature for any specific questions you may have about using the database, and Ancestry Academy offers video tutorials on Fold3 once you create a free account. Thank you so very much for joining us today for this introduction into Fold3.